It's Wednesday, May the 3rd. Lake level is a little over 915. Water temperature is going the wrong way. It's actually gotten cold the last few nights. I think it was 63 degrees when I put in this morning. Got up to about 65. But it seems like we just can't get into that 70 and stay there. There's a lot of different things going on the lake. You know, the Ned rig and grub bite had been really strong. But I find that to be, you still catch a lot of fish on it, but they seem to be getting smaller and smaller. I don't think the spawn is anywhere near over. I think we're going to have spawning fish clear up into June, which, is kind of uncommon, but, we've caught a lot of fish in the first couple of weeks of June that still haven't spawned yet. I think that water temperature is kind of holding everything back. I believe a lot of the smallmouth have spawned. There's probably still some more, but in that Cops for Kids tournament yesterday, a lot of the fish that we caught were on beds. We caught a few females, and it seemed like a lot of the largemouths are on them steeper banks that I'm finding spawning. I actually can't see them because the areas I've been fishing, the water's been stained. Up in the upper White River, I've been catching a lot more post-spawn fish. And the topwater bite and swim bait bite had been pretty good up there. But it seemed like when it cooled down the last couple of days, I hadn't been up there since Monday, so I don't know if that cooler temperature has slowed that topwater and swim bait bite down. But it had been pretty strong up till about 9 o'clock or so. But what I was throwing up there and what I was kind of looking for, I was fishing, bluff ends, main lake points, some secondaries, but areas just outside of where the fish I think were going to spawn. And like I say, a lot of them had bloody tails. A lot of the largemouths, were pretty skinny because they're out there resting up after the spawn. So like I said, a lot of those were post-spawn fish. And I was catching them several different ways. Some days I could catch them on a Zara spook or like a Strike King, a Sexy Dog, a Pop-R. Other days I could just get them to slap at a topwater bait and couldn't hook up with them. When that happened, I would go to a swim bait, and I was throwing several different swim baits. This is just an underspin with a 4.8 Kitech on it. This has got I think it's a Revenge head. It's got a real good hook in it, and it's a 4.2 swim bait. And I've been throwing some small ones too, a little smoke rub with red flake, and a little 2.8 Kitech will work. And on the grubs in a lot of these baits, it doesn't matter whether it's a Bass Pro XPS, a Chomper, a Yamamoto. I think one works just as good as the next, but the smoke red flake seems to be working pretty good. What I'm doing when these fish are coming up surfacing, or if I see the big groups of shad, that's something else that had been kind of a key to the topwater bite. The shad were starting to spawn, and that usually happens when the water gets around 70 degrees, but now that the water's cooled down the last 2 or 3 days, I'm not seeing that as much. But what I was doing with the swim baits is wherever I was seeing the big groups of shad up on surface, and you'll see them, it almost looks like it's raining, as I was working the swim baits and the grubs and the underspin underneath them. Depending on how deep the fish were, is how far I'd let it drop, and how deep the water was. But I'd usually give it about a 5 or 8 count. As far as the Kentuckys on the lake, I think the majority of them are still way out over that deep water, suspended. I don't think they're that deep, 12 and 15 foot. Some days you can catch them on a grub. But I'm catching a few more Kentuckys each day. I think as that water warms up, they're going to move in. And then that Carolina rig bite should get better. And I'm catching fish on a Carolina rig now, especially down there by the dam and around Kimberling City. Kind of the same areas we were catching a lot of the Ned rig fish and the grub fish, but I'm just pulling back out to the first point that comes out to deep water. And them fish have been anywhere from 12 to 18 foot deep. I think yesterday in that tournament we had one smallmouth around 3 pounds that had already hit spawn. And then we caught another one about 3.5 in the same area that hadn't spawned yet. And those are on a Carolina rig brush hog. Another bait I've been throwing out there is I was like a wobblehead, like a pig rig, a biffle hardhead, And basically what that is, oh, you've seen them before, I've shown them to you. It's like a football jig. And I've been using different baits on them. I've been using a beaver bait, baby brush hog, ultra vibe, zoom speed craw, just some type of creature bait and crawling it along the bottom. Like I said, I think if them Kentuckies will ever come in, that bite will get, really good, because that's where them Kentuckies usually gang up. But the majority of them seem to be suspended. Now in that tournament yesterday, a lot of the fish we caught were flipping. We caught fish in as shallow as 1 foot of water. With the lake level like it is right now, there's not a whole lot of bushes in the water to flip. So if I could find a bush or a lay down in a couple feet of water, and I was doing this from the dam up into Arkansas, the water's a lot more stained up there, and a few different baits we was throwing. This is a Missile D-Bomb, green pumpkin red. Another bait you can throw is just a Reaction Renovation Sweet Beaver. Will work good. We was throwing my buddy was flipping a green pumpkin tube, Texas rig, and we were throwing these on a 1/4 ounce weight. Now when I was flipping into the brush, I like to peg my weight so that the bait goes down through the bush. When we were fishing those ledges where a lot of the largemouth was spawning, and basically, where these 45-degree banks, set the boat about 10 to 12 feet, and you can see the ledge up there, then there'd be a dark spot or a shadow, and a lot of those fish are spawning right off of that first ledge on those ledgier banks. And we just, crawling the bait over it, and the bite was pretty light. You really had to be on your toes. But as it would drop off that, and I think they were falling on beds, the bait was falling on beds. I'm positive of that, because there was one fish I lost 2 times yesterday. It was about a 3.5 pounder. Each time I'd set the hook, the fish would come flying up out of the water, spit the bait. I came back to that same area, lined up with the same stump, 20 minutes later. Second flip, I got the fish to bite again and lost it again. So I guess I just wasn't meant to have that fish that day. But I think for the most part, you got to work at catching the keepers. You can still catch a lot of little fish, but the keeper fish, in the morning they bite pretty good. But I'm still finding I gotta work pretty hard to catch the keeper. Seems like I gotta mix it up quite a bit. I mean, if you want to catch a bunch of fish, just throw a Ned rig and a grub. Main lake secondary points in them flat gravel pockets. To me, the keepers are getting fewer and further between on that. And a lot of those fish are smallmouths, and they're males. They've been guarding fry for a week or two, and they're pretty skinny. I think the bigger fish, there's still some big fish out, but I think a lot of the bigger Kentuckies are still out over that deeper water. And we get a little bit more warm weather, warm that water up, we should see a lot more of the Kentuckies. So, till next week, good luck, good fishing.